Hello and welcome to another podcast and video from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Mark, aka the FPL General, to look ahead to Game Week 26. He could be in the market for a new cheap midfielder. We look at the options. There's also an assistant manager decision to make. Plus, we'll see how he got on in an eventful double Game Week 25. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well, Joe. Good to be back for another video. I know we're a bit later in the week than usual, but good to get a video out before the deadline. Game week 26, it's not long until there's only going to be about 10 game weeks left. The season
Yeah.
is getting along at a very fast pace. So looking forward to this game week. And yeah, I've got some big decisions to make, so hopefully this video helps me come to a conclusion.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder to climb up the rankings, but also at the same time, easier not to fall too dramatically. But yeah, chips come into it. And the assistant manager chip is in place. So we'll look at how that's doing for you so far. I'm pretty happy with mine, with a 36 points, I think it is, from a Moyes Emery. And I think you're not far off it with Slots with 28 points. But you haven't yet experienced the joy of a manager who could get table bonus, as I have for a couple of weeks. So I think that's part of the chip. So we'll talk about that, whether you want to grab that moment. Just before we go on, just a reminder, do press that like button, does help us out. And also do remember to subscribe, keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts. Okay, let's have a look. How you got on? Pretty good. Green Arrow, you're up to 31k. Green Arrows for both of us. 99 points. You must be pretty happy with that, about 20 points more than average. The single transfer. So take us briefly through your game week and sort of what transfer you made and how happy you are with, I guess, with the assistant manager as well.
Yeah, so I've had Slot for the last two game weeks, and yeah, pretty happy. I mean, it could have been better, of course, but if you offered me 28 points before the two game weeks, I probably would have taken it. Just looking forward to just having this chip behind us and hopefully never having to use it again.
Yeah.
The only transfer I made was I sold Sarr from Crystal Palace and I brought in double game weeker Rodgers, who had plenty of chances but didn't get the FPL points. Elsewhere, Captain Salah, like most people, Trent getting his goal was very welcome. Gabriel with a clean sheet. Not much else. Chris Wood, as he always does the business. 3 bonus points again. I think he's on 37 bonus points for the season, something ridiculous like that.
Okay.
Only Salah has more. So yeah, overall, Green Arrow, 37k to 31k. Main decision this week is to stick with Slot or move to someone else. I've only got one free transfer. I've got 0.3 in the bank, and I'm open to making a player transfer as well. So we'll talk about all of that later.
Okay. So how many transfers have you got left, by the way?
Just one.
Just the one. Okay. So if you did make a player transfer, it would be for a hit. Okay. There. Just with Slot as well. I mean, I guess with the lack of table bonus, he did have two doubles, back-to-back doubles. So, but I guess the ceiling wasn't as high. So are you pretty? I mean, he's gone. What's he on? 24, 25 points. 20. What's he on? 26 points. Something like
26 maybe, something around that.
26 points. Are you? I mean, you okay with that? I mean that. I mean, it's 26 extra points you wouldn't have got otherwise.
Yeah. I think I thought to myself, if I could get maybe 35 to 40 altogether over the 3 game weeks, I'll just take that and run. I know some others will do better with table bonus, etc., but others will do get less as well who gamble and it doesn't work out. So yeah, overall, it's probably been a bit frustrating to see Moyes and Emery managers do better, but that's just the nature of the chip. And yeah, there's definitely temptation to gamble this week.
Okay, I think what I'll do is I'm actually going to put up the fixtures because I think while we're talking about this system manager, before we talk about a possible player move and some of the stats there, I think what we'll do is we'll look at the fixtures now, and I've got my fabulous little table graphic for 2 or 3 managers that you could go for. So I think it's worth doing. So I think there's 2 things to think about here. One is you could stick with Slot. He could beat Man City. He could get like 10 points or so, and then you'd end up with that 35, 36 points. Or you could go for broke. You could go for either a 0 or possible 20 points by going for one of these managers. So the ones I've highlighted are Wolves against Bournemouth, because Wolves are in good form at the moment, but so are Bournemouth. There's also Crystal Palace away to Fulham, both sides in quite good form. So you don't know what's going to happen there. And there's McKenna at Ipswich against Tottenham, but Tottenham is looking slightly better. I've discounted Leicester against Brentford, and I've discounted Southampton against Brighton, although Southampton did draw against Brighton previously this season. But I think a draw is the most you could hope for there. And I just don't think Leicester can in any way get anything from Brentford. Could be famous last words. So, yeah, what are you minded to do? Just keep it on slot, save that transfer, or get that thrill that I was talking about, the thrill of a last minute draw with with Moyes, or Emery almost doing it and getting that full bonus against slot. So, what are you minded to do? Keep it safe or take a risk?
Yeah, I'm quite conflicted on this one. I think the first thing I'll say is I don't really want to stick with Slot against Manchester City away. It's I've kind of always said with Slot, I'll get him for the 2 weeks and then jump off and potentially gamble on someone else. But also fixtures are not overly appealing. I'm kind of ruling out the three promoted teams. I don't really want to go there. I know Ipswich is tempting against Tottenham, but I still don't really fancy that. The the gamble, if I take one that I like most, is probably Glasner at Crystal Palace.
Okay.
But again, Fulham are pretty good. I
Yeah.
don't really like,
Okay.
backing against them when they're playing at home. So then it's a case of stick with Slot, or the alternative is stay boring, but go to Arsenal and go to Arteta for the West Ham home fixture.
I'm actually deflating because
I'm surprised, Joe, because this is a dullard move,
it's even I, as a dullard, recognise the gameplay of this chip. The whole point of this chip is to go for that risk reward, and there's huge benefits for taking that risk. Obviously, you could end up with nothing, and that's why I went for that Moyes Emery, because they had a double game week, one easy game and one game that was winnable for both of them at home. And the annoying thing of this week is that a lot of these table bonus games, they're away sides, and they're against sides that are actually quite good in form. They had, so for example, an Everton derby. So if Spurs were against Arsenal, I would, and there was a table bonus gap there. I would go for Spurs in that one, for example, because it's that sort of derby. There's something in it, but I'm not getting that for these ones. But yeah, I can't see the point in using a transfer to move from a good manager with no table bonus to another good manager with table bonus, who may also lose.
Yeah, it's even the Arteta move might be too boring for me, and I'm as boring as it comes FPL wise. But I keep coming back to the idea that I really don't want Slot. I don't think I want Slot against Manchester City.
You've got to go for one of these table ones then.
And if I do, I think it is. I rate Glasner. I rate the team. I do rate Fulham as well, but I think that game can go either way. And if there's a 20-pointer up for grabs, then maybe I do go for it.
I mean, that would be huge. That's a 20-point, and it's also the okay. So part of the gameplay of it, as speaking as someone who's been opted for managers with a table bonus, when you're in that table bonus game, when Villa went up, wow, I'm looking at a massive score there. Then it went down to draw, and I'm looking, actually the score's still quite good. But without that table bonus, it would have just been that sort of 10, 11 point ceiling, and I just think that's the point of this chip, which we have our misgivings about. I personally, I wouldn't mind seeing it again next season, but just for 1 week. I can't see this 3 game weeks. Just 1 week, just 3 game weeks is too. Like, if we've used it now, but say other people want to use it for some of the other doubles coming up, 31, 32, 33. They can't use a wild card then, can't use a bench boost then. It's too constricting. But anyway. Am I persuading you? I mean, you sound like it could be Glasner.
Yeah, it's always been Glasner this week if I gamble. And even on Arteta, I think I probably do agree with you. It's probably not worth a transfer to go Slot to Arteta, especially if I end up making a player transfer as well, because then there's a hit involved. I know you could look at the the player out and the manager out as two -2s instead of a -4
Yeah.
and split it that way mentally. But even Arteta against Potter, I don't think that's straightforward.
No.
And with the Arsenal injuries, if it was, previous manager was still there at West Ham and they were still
Yeah.
struggling, then probably a no-brainer. But I don't think it would surprise anyone if Graham Potter and West Ham can get a result against Arsenal at the minute either. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably reluctantly stick with Sloth and avoid a -4 or Glasner.
Yeah, I mean, I've used a transfer from Moyes to Emery, so I'm probably going to stick on Emery. And I've talked. There's another video and podcast do point people to Tom Freeman's team reveal earlier this week. We talk about that in detail because he's also on Emery, and we're both pretty much minded to keep Emery for the same rationale of keeping Slot if you're going to do that. Part of the rationale is we've already experienced the table bonus, so we're less reluctant to go for that. But yeah, I mean that's what I find interesting. It's the gameplay. It's that added gameplay that is added into FPL. I like that. I like that element to it. It's giving it something a bit different. But yeah, 3 weeks of this is like nah. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's been active for 2 weeks now, and I think we did have maybe a bit of a break in between. I feel like I've lost a bit of interest in FPL over the last few weeks, and I don't know if that's coincided with the chip. It's definitely probably part of it, but yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of getting back to regular game weeks and not having managers to think about.
Well, I think if it does come back again, I would certainly advise people use it in a double game week. Try and get a home player, get a derby game, something like that, and go for the table bonus. Because I have not felt bored during it, despite not liking the chip that much. But I certainly have not been bored.
Yeah. And again, I say I've lost a bit of interest. I've probably been bored because I've had Slot. Whereas if I go Glasner
exactly.
this weekend, I will probably go out of my way to try and watch that game or at
You
least follow it very closely.
the emotions of you watching that game will be huge because you've got 20 points going on it. 20. Imagine how you get a 20. When you get a 20-point player, that's rare anyway. Yeah, they've got to get a hat trick or something, or a defender getting a goal, an assist, and a clean sheet.
I don't think the boring manager in me could handle watching that game live. I think I'd have to go for a long walk and just check the score after.
Okay. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to look at a table because if you did make a whatever you decide with the manager, if you did make a player switch, I think you're minded to get rid of Rodgers fairly quickly. I've got him in my team as well, so I'm interested in what you've got to say about this. So I've got some options here. First off, I've got Rodgers. I'm playing him. I think Chelsea are poor, and I think I've seen enough from Rodgers to think he could be due a goal. But I could make a move for another player. I could, for example, get Cunha in for Gakpo, play Gakpo, just bench Rodgers and keep him on my bench as my permanent first sub. I kind of like that as well. But you're minded to move him out. You've got Chiwomi still. So if you can't bench Rodgers, Rodgers has to go, or you play him. So before we look at the other options, how minded are you just to keep him?
I'm probably, now that it's Friday, I'm more open to keeping him than I was in the aftermath of the back-to-back blanks in the double game week, because no matter what I do this week, if it's a manager and a player, it's a -4. But maybe the sensible thing is just to focus on the manager, and then instead, really the hit is really then for the player. So selling Rodgers for -4 before he plays a poor Chelsea team, probably. I'm looking at Bournemouth midfielders among others, but trying to get the Bournemouth midfielder right in any one given game week is not easy either. And Rodgers disappointed, but his stats, underlying stats, were pretty decent in those in that double game week. So maybe I'm being too hasty in, maybe it's a bit of a rage transfer. And like I said, as we get closer to deadline, I'm more open to maybe not taking a hit and just keeping Rodgers and going a third week without a Bournemouth midfielder, which I've been threatening to do for a while, but the double game weeks obviously changed our plans. So yeah, I think I'm still open to the transfer. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to talking to some of these guys because there's very tempting options out there.
There are indeed. And just before we do that, we just look at Rodgers in context of this. He doesn't appear in this because his minutes for expected goal involvement are quite poor. They're every 390 minutes, so getting on for nearly 400 minutes. Most of them here are somewhere between 125 minutes and 240 minutes. So the expected stats are pretty poor for him. He is in 3 and 10 teams. He's created 7 chances over the last 6. This is over the last 6 matches he's played. Started all 6, so his X minutes are great. His baseline bonus is poor. His shots inside the box 8, and with just 3 on target. So I'm looking at those stats there, and I'm thinking we can do better. And certainly for me, for example, Cunha in for Gakpo and playing Cunha and benching Rodgers, I would still be doing better. But if you for a straight swap, so let's start with it. So Brighton first, Minter. I had him at the beginning of the season, wasn't so good there, but he's actually come into some form. He seems to have nailed down the right hand side because Ruta, who was playing there, is better than Pedro at the moment. So we've got Minter out on the right, minutes per expected goal involvement. He is the best out of any under 7 million midfielder from the last 6 matches in terms of XGI, and I've only included those with 3 attacking returns. But he's got 30 points. He's had 3 goals and an assist, 4 attacking returns from 7 shots inside the box. Minutes per baseline bonus really strong. Are you tempted to go for a cheap Brighton midfielder?
I do like Minte. I remember when he first joined Brighton, he hit the ground running and he was quite popular FPL wise, and
Yeah.
been quieter since then, but been really good recently. And if he's going to get the minutes at 5 million, he's a very, very attractive option. But I still find it hard to look at Brighton midfielders over Bournemouth, because Bournemouth are top of the scout fixture ticker for the next 4 or 5 game weeks.
Okay. Yeah, it's indeed. I mean, I'm similar, despite being a Brighton fan. But it's worth noting that he plays Southampton away next, and Southampton are one of the weakest sides. They're Bournemouth and Fulham at home, both good sides, but they're at home. Man City can easily score against them, and they plays in Gameweek 29, and then they've got Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, and Leicester. The Crystal Palace game obviously being the M23 derby. So I think he's well worth a mention, well worth consideration. It's a Tavernier who is the best Bournemouth midfielder in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement in the last 6 matches they have played. He's only started 3 of them because he's come on as a sub. And of course, he has been injured as well. So this goes back a bit. But his ownership is minimal. He has got 4 assists and a goal. He's got 5 attacking returns in his last 6 matches he's played. 6 shots inside the box, 3 on target. Yeah, I mean, I already know that you will look elsewhere, another Bournemouth midfielder, but it's interesting that Tavernier is in fact the best in terms of the expected stats.
Yeah, I like Tavernier as a player. I also like Ryan Christie, who's been really good for Bournemouth, but I think both players are just a level or 2 below FPL wise the other 3 that everyone knows, and that we'll talk more about.
Yeah. Next one is a Man City player. Now, I've got my eye on Mamouche, but I probably won't go there. I think I still prefer Cunha. But Savio, Man City, I don't rule getting him in. Very low owned, 2.4% ownership. 6.2, very affordable for you and me. Got 46 FPL points. Created 10 chances, 7 assists and a goal. He's got 8 attacking returns in his last 6 matches. That is something that people might not realise. Because I haven't seen Savio mentioned by a lot of content creators. 10 shots on target, 15 shots inside the box. Started 6, so he's not coming on as a sub. Yeah, I mean, for Rodgers going ahead of Gameweek 29, of course, Man City playing 29, I don't rule out getting Savio in. I was quite surprised how good his stats are, and that he's got those 8 attacking returns last 6.
Yeah, I'd actually forgotten how cheap he is as well. 6.2 for a Man City attacker is very, very attractive. A player like Savio probably does suit my 3-5-2 structure better because it's easier to get him in.
Yeah.
But I do think when it comes to Manchester City, that Marmoush could be the man. And I think it could happen quite quickly that everybody wants Marmoush. And I might need to adjust, and maybe Chiwomi becomes Marmoush at some point. So Savio on my watch list, keeping a close eye. But I do think I'm more likely to go Marmoush in the near future.
Yeah. Next one is Kluivert. He's probably the one I'll get, even though I've got Dango. I think I'll go Clive as well. He's the guy on penalties for a really attacking Bournemouth side with great fixtures, plays in game week 29, minutes per expected goal involvement every 144 minutes, create 10 chances, 10 shots inside the box, 7 on target, minutes per baseline bonus is strong, on penalties obviously. Yeah, I mean he's well, I would go for him if I was going to remove Rodgers this week.
Yeah, if I could rearrange these names and just put them in order of players that I want, I would put Clivert straight to number one. And
Yeah,
it's been like that for a few weeks. And it's been frustrating that the doubles fell late and I wasn't able to get the Clivert. And more frustratingly, I am zero point 0.1 million short of a straight swap from Rogers to Clivert this week. So that's kind of where the -4 idea was coming from. That if I really want Clivert, then my assistant manager would probably be the easiest way to
yeah.
free up the zero point 0.1.
Ooh.
So Clivert, I do want, but that would mean I can't keep Slot and I can't get Arteta. So you'll be happy to hear that it would be Clivert and Glasner that would come in as part of a -4.
Okay.
And again, mentally, I could just tell myself that that's two -2s.
Yeah, that is that's a spicy move. That's a really good move, and I think a lot of people in the live in the chat in the comment section will go do it because that is a good move. It does seem like there's a lot of upside there.
Yeah, and
Wolves
Clivert's just a good long-term pick
yeah
that I've wanted for a while anyway.
Next name is Dango. I'm just trying to remind myself of your team here. You don't have Dango. He's brilliant. I can testify that. Got him in a couple of weeks ago, and he's already got me a goal. Playing up front, Evan Nilsson. I don't think is going to be back for a while. At least sort of game week 30 maybe. So I think we should be pretty nailed on. He is only in 3.9% of teams. So his goal was really good for my rank this week. He's got 5 attacking returns, 4 goals and an assist, 12 shots inside the box, 9 on target. So he's shooting close range and accurately, which is why he's got 4 goals in his last 6. And he's starting, not coming on as a sub because Evan Nilsson's not there. So he's playing in that number 9 role. Yeah, he's got to be up there for you, I would imagine. And you can afford it. You can just do it. Just like that. Rodgers to him. Done.
Yeah, he's again right up there in my mind now with Clivert. I think Dango has jumped above Semenyo in my order for the Bournemouth mids. And again, I'm probably in a A or B scenario today. It is Clivert in Glasner, or I can just do Rogers to Dango, and then that gives me the option of keeping Slot, or it opens the door again for the boring Arteta move.
Yeah.
So Dango's very attractive, out of position, saves me 0.9 on Clivert, and I don't think there's much between them. So I think Dango, the FPL General move is Rashford, not Rashford, Rogers to Dango,
Yeah.
and keep Slot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's good.
it's good, but I just have this niggling feeling that I don't really want Slot against Manchester City.
No,
So
it's like it's like when you get an Indian takeaway meal. That's got like 1 chili, but that previous move that you said, going for the table bonus and getting Cliver in, who's on penalties, that's a 3 chili one.
yeah, I think when when I go to Nando's, they ask you what you
Yeah.
want, and I say lemon and herb. So I probably should just be getting Dango and keeping Slot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No chili then. Let's move on. You said you mentioned Rashford there, probably because he's the next name here. Now, right. Okay. The problem with Aston Villa, I actually think the Chelsea game's good, and I think Rashford is looking like the best option for them on the left. He's got Crystal Palace away and Brentford away, which are okay. Then he's blanks. And then he goes into a Brighton away, Nottingham Forest at home, that's tough, and then Southampton away. So the fixtures are mixed. But I think he's interesting here. His minutes per expected goal involvement every 171 minutes. And these are the last 6 matches he's played, so that includes Manchester United. He's got 4 attacking returns. He's in 4.4% of teams. It's because you're a Manchester United fan as well. And I can see some Manchester United fans going for Rashford because he's looking good for Villa. And I can see, even though obviously completely different team, but it's just that sort of going for that sort of nostalgia of a good Rashford playing for a team and being in your fantasy side. Are you tempted? 6.6.
Yeah, I was very encouraged by his performance against Liverpool. It was a bit of Rashford of old. He looked happy, taking players on, being effective, getting the assist, albeit a fortunate assist. But yeah, heavily involved in everything, set pieces, etc. as well. So it's a little bit frustrating that they have the blank coming up. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to free hit or not, but I'm very open to using the free hit, so I don't
Okay.
mind going for a player like a Rashford over the
Okay.
next couple of weeks. But again,
Okay.
it just feels, yeah, it feels maybe a little bit too early to be able to fully trust his
Okay.
minutes, especially when they've got a lot of options in those front areas now.
Okay. And so the remaining names we've got, I imagine you wouldn't go for because I think Cliver and Dango would get the nod, but we'll mention them anyway. And some you might go for. So it's Kevin Sade at Brentford. I think Wissa and Bomo are probably the main draws there, but it's worth mentioning he's only in 1% of teams. He's got 3 goals in his last 6. And he has got 13 shots inside the box, 6 on target. So he is in the right place and he's okay on shooting on target. Yeah, I mean, he's an option, 5.1 if you need the money.
Yeah, I've always liked Shada. I think he's a really good player and just hasn't got enough minutes, in his career at Brentford to be a really good FPL asset. And I do still, I would say Bumo number one, Weston number two, Shada number three.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning, and I think those looking to, I mean, because his ownership's so low, looking to get a good rank rise. He plays Leicester next, and this is Brentford time because the next 4 are pretty good. Well, next 3 definitely. Leicester away, brilliant. Everton at home, great. Aston Villa at home, great. Both teams that can concede. Then he's got Bournemouth away. That's a bit tougher, but you never know. Newcastle away, Chelsea and Arsenal. Okay, so it gets tougher and tougher. But so now is the time for Brentford, and that gap to get a Brentford player, Brian Mboma, Wissa, is sort of coming to an end soon. So he's worth mentioning there. Next name is the new kid on the block, 4.6. It's Waneri at Arsenal. Obviously, he's taking Saka's role, but Saka's going to come back, but not until early April. So we've got a while. So, but if you were say wildcarding at some point between 30 and 32 or something, you can easily get him in and then move him on because he plays in game week 29. And the stats are promising. 3 attacking returns, 4 starts, 4 shots inside the box. Baseline bonus is very strong. Every 5 minutes, he's getting a baseline bonus, which is the metric to calculate bonus points. Yeah, 4.6. I mean, he is really, yeah. I mean, that's really good value.
Yeah, I mean, what a player! What a player for his age, and he might be the biggest gift we've had in FPL this season, staring at us right in the face. So maybe those who go early will be rewarded, and obviously we're last week. I think he's just going to be a game breaker because of his price, while Saka is out and 90 minutes in the last game. I think I do like Trossard. Maybe Trossard maybe feels a little bit safer, but it's a massive cash saving and. Like I said, 2 players I think could be in a lot of teams soon are Marmoush and I think Wanyeri is the second one. So
Yeah.
if the minutes continue, I expect to own him soon. But again, I keep coming back to Bournemouth because of the fixtures.
Yeah, definitely. I was just having a look at Newcastle. So if I was to get Marmoush and Cunha, I would have to jettison Isak, which I don't mind doing. He doesn't play in 29, but then he goes straight into Brighton, Brentford, and Leicester, so I kind of want him back pretty quick. So I probably won't go there. But yeah, so when are we there? Another Bournemouth player, Semenyo. I mean, there's so many, aren't there? There's so many in this list, and that shows it. They're all in this. They're all got really strong stats. Semenyo, minutes per expected goal involvement every 204 minutes, 14 shots inside the box, 10 of those on target, 2 goals and 3 assists. So he's got assist potentials, created 8 chances. Yeah, I mean, he's in a lot of teams. I mean, he's a whole, but I just think penalties with Cliver playing as number 9 Dango might have the slight edge. But yeah, if I see Semenyo in a team, I think that FPL manager knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't remember a time in recent seasons where we had a team like Bournemouth who have 3 amazing FPL picks in attack. They're
Yeah.
they're all fantastic, and you can make a case for any one of them. Like you said, I see a Semenyo on a team, and I just think good pick. You're going to get points there. I have 0 Bournemouth midfielders. I wish I had 2. So
Yeah.
yeah, whichever ones you have, don't jump around. Those 3 they're all really good picks.
Yeah. Next name's Eze and Matoma. So let's go with Eze first. He's 6.7, only 21 points. I think he's not a great pick. I think Mateta's the one to get for Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace's fixtures are still strong. They've got Fulham, Aston Villa, Ipswich before they blank, but then they go straight into Southampton and the M23 derby with Brighton. Eze has got 3 assists but no goals over his last 6 matches. He has got an injury. I think it was some kind of swollen foot or something. He's only had 5 shots inside the box and only 2 on target. But he has created a whopping 17 chances. So if Mateta's on fire, which he is, Eze could rack up even more assists. But I just feel for less money, 1 million less, you can get someone who scores more rather than the guy that assists more.
Yeah, Eze just while he's carrying this knock, he's just not a pick. He's not getting the minutes, and we have named a lot of players here that are, I think, better FPL picks at the moment. When it comes to Crystal Palace, I agree. Mateta is a fantastic option, and instead of Eze, you can get a Crystal Palace attacker who can also get you clean sheets in Daniel Munoz. I think Mateta and Munoz are the standouts from that team.
Okay, and the last name is Matoma. Well, I'm slightly slightly clouded because he's amazing. That amazing touch that he did from the goalkeeper pass to somehow stick to his foot and then score from it is probably, well, I'm biased, but that surely must be goal of the season. Nevertheless, he's got 4 attacking returns, 36 FPL points in the last 6 matches. He's only in 6.9% of teams. Got Southampton away next. Only 5 shots inside the box, every single one of them on target though, and he's scored 3 goals. Some would say that's unsustainable. I would say that when you get a player like him who can do something that I could only think maybe, I mean, yeah, I'm going to get slaughtered for this. I only think that Messi and Bergkamp are the only other players I think who could have done what Matoma did with that goal.
Yeah, what a touch! One of the best touches you will ever see. That's a big statement. So
It's big.
we should all be owning the player that is Bergkamp-esque in our FPL
Yeah.
teams. I love Matoma, one of my favorite players to watch. FPL wise though, it's always a bit of it's a tricky one because he's a winger and he spends a lot of time on the wing. He's obviously fantastic at beating players, and the shots in the box just does put me off. I'd like to see more, shots from central areas like some of these other players who have, more than 10. Some of them have 15. Great player, always an FPL option, but I always find someone that I like more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's lots of options. This is why it's like quite a lengthy list, and there's other players that I haven't mentioned on here. Rightio. Okay. Let's have a look at how you are set up for next week to sort of and see if you're sort of minded to make that player move, and if so, which of those many choices we've just been through, and also what you're going to do with the assistant manager. So yeah, take us through your team, who you're captaining, which is a decision this week, and those moves.
Yeah, so in goal, I've got Pickford at the back, Trent, Gabriel, and Castagna will get a start against Crystal Palace. Midfield is Rodgers, who might stay, he might go. Current captain's armband is on Mohamed Salah. I think it will stay on Mohamed Salah, but I'm certainly considering Brennan Bumo and Alexander Isak as well. Elsewhere, I've got Palmer and Gordon in midfield, and I've got Chris Wood alongside Isak. On the bench, currently Slot, Valdemarson, Chiwomi, Mikalenko, and Konsa. So the bench is not looking too good, but hopefully Konsa is fit again soon. So after everything we spoke about, I always think if the deadline was in 5 minutes, what would I do? I think I would go the spicy route. Rodgers to Clivert, Slot to Glasner.
Wow. Do it.
But the deadline is not in 5 minutes, so
No.
I've still got more time to be talked off the ledge and stick with
Right.
Slot
Okay.
and just get Dango. I think I've gone off the Arteta idea,
Yeah.
especially when it's part of a -4. I think instead of Arteta, I would just keep Slot.
When you saw me
But yeah,
physically deflate when you said that.
yeah, when I seen the air come out of your ears and your nose, I said, if that's the impact it's having on Joe, maybe I shouldn't do that. But yes, keeping it simple, I've wanted Clivert for ages. Rodgers to Clivert. I've always said I would gamble on the third week, get Glasner, and then just see what happens.
Okay. So in the comments below, Just to timestamp this, actually, we're recording this Friday morning. This should go out Friday midday, so you'll get to see that then. And the deadline is this evening on Friday as well. So do leave comments below. I'm sure Mark will be seeing them. I will as well. About what he should do, because it is a tough decision. I'm sure lots of you got very similar as well. Should he go for that 3 chili spicy move, or should he go boring, or a move that even I deflated by? I'm the dullest manager around. So yeah, lots to think about there. Just before we go, I'm just going to put the fixtures back up again, because we put them up for looking at the table bonus for this week, really. So one of the key decisions really is game week 29. And looking at your team, you're not actually that well set up for game week 29, because you've got Conser won't be available anyway. Chiwomi won't be available. He's out for the season as well. So you've got 1, 2. Isaac won't be. There's 3 out. Rogers, but who might change. 4. Salah, you might bench. Can't play. 5. Alexander-Arnold can't play. 6. Gordon, 7. So you've got 7 players out there. So how minded are you to free hit in 29? You are sort of near that threshold for like, yeah, you should free hit, or you could start using transfers now and pretty much get 10 or 11 out.
Yeah, I've just kind of taken a flexible approach with it, and I'm still undecided. I will free hit in 29 if the team needs it. If I pick up another injury or two, I will definitely free hit. But also, I will have a free transfer in 27, 28, and 29. So that's 3 free transfers. Could always take a hit or two. For example, I could sell Gordon next week for a second Bournemouth mid, or a Trossard, or a Wanyeri. So just going to see, I basically need to just see what happens. And it's probably going to be dependent on injuries, or if a player, drops off in form or gets a suspension or something like that. So open-minded, we'll free hit if I need to. And if not, I'll just get through. Even if it was, 9 players, I'd probably just go, get through it.
And the other issue is that we now know we've got a double for Newcastle and Crystal Palace. Much better for Newcastle, 2 home games against Manchester United, Crystal Palace. And Crystal Palace themselves have got Newcastle away and City away. And then also game week 33, we know will be a strong double game week. We just don't know who it is yet. And we know that whoever doubles in 33 are very, very, very likely to be blanking in game week 34. So what's your strategy there? Giving in mind we've got this new double, 32, and then you've got another double, and then a blank, and then possibly another double in 36.
Yeah, again, very loose plans, because I fully expect to wildcard, like most other people, probably between 30 and 32, bench boost afterwards. So ideally, it would be nice to have the free hit to cope with 34. So that might be the way I go. Even if I have to take a red arrow in game week 29, I will do so. Hopefully, short-term pain for long-term gain. But again, just very laid-back approach. Maybe too laid back with the chips, but just waiting for the fixtures to pan out, and just trying to focus on having a few good game weeks that are right in front of me before planning on chips, etc.
Yeah, I mean that's the way I'm thinking. It's slightly open, but I am more minded to wildcard in 32 as close as I can to 33, and then save that free hit. I don't have lots of Newcastle players, for example, so I'm already there with not free hitting in 29. There's just simply no need for me. But yeah, for people like in your position, which is very many people actually, there is a decision to be made. Okay, we better go now. Good luck with the game week. Good luck everyone watching and listening. We'll be back again next week. There's a tight turnaround next week. Game week 27 deadline is next Tuesday, but we'll be back on Monday to decide what to do in that game week. But we've got this game week ahead. Game week 26. Good luck with it. See you soon. Cheers.
Good luck all.